tonight, during night one of AEW Fyter Fest, the AEW World Tag Team Championships, amongst other things, will be on the line. There's going to be, I think, 3 title matches tonight, isn't there? So I made a video earlier on a preview for the Sasha Banks versus Io Shirai Great American Bash preview, so be sure to check that out on the channel. But this is all about AEW. This is all about Fyter Fest. This is all about the AEW World Tag Team Championships. The best friends going up against the AEW World Tag Team Champions Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. Now, a little bit of a side note before I really get into things right here. Adam Page is back on Twitter, thank God, right? Thank God, all is right with the world. Hangman Adam Page is back on social media, so that's fun. So if you're a fan of Hangman Adam Page on social media, he's back. But to the match at hand, to the match tonight, there's been a lot of tag team championship matches recently on Dynamite, hasn't there? There's been so many. There's been they defended it. Who else have they defended it against? They defended against Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian. They defended it against the Natural Nightmares. They had a match against. Or the Best Friends, rather, had a match against Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara recently to put up their number one contendership for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Because bear in mind, the Best Friends actually became number one contenders for the AEW World Tag Team Championships all the way back at Double or Nothing in May. And then it felt like just every week after that on Dynamite, it was another team was getting a shot at the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Now, I know a lot of people defended that by saying, well, you know, the stipulation was when Best Friends beat Private Party at Double or Nothing that they were going to be have a World Tag Team Championship match at Fyter Fest, so it doesn't really matter what happens in the interim. Well, it kind of does. It kind of does. If in any other arena or in any other sport, you were told, imagine in UFC, Conor McGregor's told, right, you're fighting for the title at the next fight, you're going to fight this guy, you're going to fight whoever, Tony Ferguson, you're going to fight Tony Ferguson at the next UFC pay-per-view, that's going to, whenever you have your fight, and then in the interim, Tony Ferguson fights about 5 guys and puts the title up against 5 different people, you'd be annoyed. Conor McGregor would be like, what the hell? I've signed to face these guys for this title, this is not right. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, you're overthinking it, but I don't know. I think sometimes it's worth having that little bit of logic there, isn't there? In terms of the match itself, I think the match itself is going to be fine. The great thing, one of the best things about AEW is their focus on tag team wrestling, isn't it? Tag team wrestling in AEW is very, very good. The roster, the tag team division is beyond stacked in AEW. It really is. It's the best tag team division in the world. I don't care what anyone says. It really is. You look at the tag teams, and I do this in every video, and I start listing off the tag teams, and then I can't remember them, and then I list them as I'm going on, but I'll try and do my best here. You've got the Young Bucks, of course. You've got FTR. You've got Blade and the Butcher. You've got the Lucha Brothers. You've got Private Party. You've got Santana and Ortiz. You've got Jericho and Guevara when they compete. You've got Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc, if they're still a thing, or if Jimmy Havoc's still with the company, of course. You've got Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. You've got the likes of Best Friends. Do I need to go on Natural Nightmares? Whoever, there is a million tag teams in AEW right now. The tag team roster is beyond stacked, and it's not. And the good thing is about AEW is it's not an afterthought. That's the great thing about tag team wrestling. You see it in WWE, and I don't want to make this into a AEW versus WWE thing. But it's good to compare to other companies, and tag team wrestling is really important in AEW. Now, some people have criticised, and rightfully so, some of the psychology when it comes to the tag team wrestling matches, and I think that depends on the team. I think that comes with the territory when you've got the likes of the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers in there, maybe a Private Party, that sometimes, you know, they're not holding on to the tag rope, sometimes the referee isn't truly enforcing the 10 count or the 5 count or whatever the count is. They tried to make a rule at the start, didn't they? I remember at the start of AEW they said, because usually when you tag in, it's a 5 count, isn't it? You can have 2 people of the same, 2 team members in the ring at the same time for a 5 count, and then if it gets to 5, the referee can disqualify you. They said that at the start of AEW, it's actually a 10 count. They're giving more discretion to the referees. It's a 10 count, which helps with double team maneuvers, double team finishes, etc., etc., which is a good rule, actually. It is a good rule. That does have logic to it. But that logic has just disappeared off the wayside when it comes to AEW, like a lot of logic can happen in AEW matches. It just what it is. I don't want to sound like a crusty old timer going, they lack logic. It doesn't have any. There's no psychology to this match. Sometimes there isn't, and that is a problem with tag team wrestling in AEW. But before I go off on a massive tangent there, the really good thing about AEW is that the tag team wrestling is at the forefront. I think personally, one of the best AEW matches this year, maybe even the best AEW match this year, was the Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page versus Young Bucks AEW World Tag Team Championship match at Revolution earlier this year. That, to me, I'm just trying to do a bit of a recall back in my head right now of any other AEW matches throughout this year. I can't think of a better match than that this year. Which you wouldn't have that in many other companies, would you? You wouldn't have a tag team match for the tag team championships with tag team wrestlers. And I know what people are going to say, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, they're not really a tag team. They're not. And that is true. That is true that they are single stars and they are better off, and their money is as single stars. Kenny Omega, one of the best wrestlers in the world, big star in New Japan. Hangman Page, without a shadow of a doubt, is going to be AEW World Champion one day. They're not tag team wrestlers, but ever since they've become a tag team, they've competed pretty much strictly in tag team matches, apart from a few matches here or there. But they've been pretty much exclusively in tag team matches, and their matches have been good. That's the really important thing, I think, with this. Now, I'm not a big fan. I am not a big fan of just putting together people and then saying they're a tag team, which is kind of what they did with Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. The difference is there, the matches were great, the chemistry is there, and they've been a tag team for a long time. Sometimes when they put these tag teams together, they give them the titles really quick and then they break them up 3 weeks later, and you go, well, nothing was built there. There's no stakes there because they weren't together long enough for you to get really invested in the team. Whereas with Hangman Page and Kenny Omega, would I like them to have a team name? Probably. I would probably like them to have a team name that would make you feel like they are a more legitimate team. But every single tag team match they do, it's just off the charts good. I mean, world class tag team wrestling they are. Their matches, when they won the tag team titles against SCU on the Jericho Cruise, I mentioned the match against the Young Bucks, even the match against Havoc and Sabian the other week, I thought that was a really fun match. They're just knocking it out of the park every single week, every single time they have a tag team match. It is really, really, really good. But, of course, this tag team, I mentioned just previously, they're single stars. Their money is as single stars. Their future careers in AEW will be as single stars. This is just a nice little detour, I think, for their characters for the time being. So you have to wonder, when are these two going to break up? When is we going to get the showdown between Kenny Omega and Hangman Page? And who is going to be the one to turn heel? Because I think prior to this, the original plan, from what I understand it to be and what it looks like, I'm just trying to read the tea leaves on this one, but I think the original plan was, look, Hangman Page was part of the Elite, wasn't he? He starts becoming darker and darker. They talk about him distancing himself from the Elite, grows quite disenfranchised with the Elite, and doesn't really want to be part of it anymore. He wasn't winning matches. He lost to Chris Jericho to become the inaugural AEW World Champion, the biggest match of his life, his career. He didn't win, and then he might have got a couple of wins here or there. I think he was the first person to beat Pac in AEW, but the point being that he wasn't doing what he wanted to do. He couldn't get the victories that he wanted to be. He was the goody two-shoes, smile and wave babyface, and it wasn't working. He distanced himself from the Elite, becomes darker, becomes more of a tweener, not a full heel, but a lot of people were expecting the heel turn to come soon. And then once he won the tag team titles with Kenny Omega, people thought, okay, the turn is going to come. Hangman Page is going to turn on Kenny Omega, and then we're going to get maybe a feud between them or something of that ilk. The problem is, during this time, the darker Hangman Page, the beer drinking, the careless, I don't give a damn about the Elite, drinking beers in the crowd, that character got really, really, really over. I mean, really over with the live audience. He was getting the biggest reactions from the crowds on the Dynamites when we still had them. He still gets the biggest reaction on social media. Everyone loves Hangman Page. I'm way more invested in the Hangman Adam Page character now than I ever was previously because of this different side, this darker edge to the character. I don't think AEW really expected the character to get that over as a babyface when they were trying to get him over as a heel. So the problem then becomes, okay, who turns on who now? Because Hangman Page almost can't be the heel at this point. They could still turn him heel, but I don't think that's the best use for his character anymore. I think he's too much money as a babyface for them to turn him heel. Keep him as he is, and he will be a world champion in about 12 months' time. I really do think so. It's a shame we don't have the crowds right now to really show that ovation he would be getting every single week, week after week after week. But he is a big star for AEW as a babyface now, as long as he keeps to this character. So how do you do the split up? I think you do the split up, and I mentioned this in the past. I think you do the split up by Kenny Omega turning on Hangman Page, and then the match you have at maybe an All Out. I still think Jon Moxley will face MJF at All Out, so maybe a little bit later on down the line, maybe at a Full Gear, maybe a full year later. You have a heel Kenny Omega go up against Jon Moxley. I think that's the way to do it now. The Jon Moxley-Kenny Omega feud never really ended. They had the match, the Lights Out match, at Full Gear in Baltimore last year, which AEW got fined for because some ex-WCW employee apparently doesn't like blood in Baltimore, Maryland. What a stupid old situation that was. But that situation was never resolved. Kenny Omega was off TV for a while after that one, talking about not being cleared, and it really devastated him that he couldn't beat Jon Moxley. And you look at Jon Moxley ever since, he's gone on to great success. He's the AEW World Champion right now. Obviously, his status for next week's up in the air, but the point being, Jon Moxley went up from success to success, and Kenny Omega had to kind of reevaluate himself, find himself again. He wasn't the Kenny Omega from New Japan. He probably still isn't the Kenny Omega from New Japan. So I think the best thing to do here now is to have Kenny Omega turn on Hangman Adam Page, and then Kenny Omega goes off, feuds with maybe a Jon Moxley. At 1 year later at Full Gear, they have the rematch, a face Moxley versus a heel Kenny Omega, and Hangman Page can go and continue to get over as the babyface and then eventually become world champion. Now, I'm looking way, way, way into the future there, because I think for the prediction for this match against the Best Friends, I would be really, really, really surprised if the Best Friends were the ones to take the tag team titles off of Omega and Hangman Page. The reason as to why is, look, they are over with the AEW audience. I just think the next tag team champions should probably be a tag team with a greater stature than Best Friends right now. Look, they've tried their best to get them over, and they are over. I'm just not sure as of yet they're tag team championship worthy. I think there are better tag teams in that division. I think of FTR, I think of the Young Bucks, I think of the Lucha Brothers, etc. I think there are better teams in there that could and probably should be AEW World Tag Team Champions before the Best Friends. Now, that's no disservice to the Best Friends. They have good matches. They're a fun act. I think the star out of them, obviously, is Orange Cassidy. He's having his match with Chris Jericho on night 2, but I think there's a huge upside to Trent there. Trent Beretta, he looks great. He can work. Maybe needs a bit of work on the mic, but I think he could be a big star for AEW too. I just don't think they're the right team to defeat Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. I would save that personally for FTR. I think FTR should come in, make a big statement, become tag team champions, and then when you do the FTR versus Young Bucks match at All Out, it's for the tag team championship. I think that's the way to build that match. So a prediction for this match, I don't think we're going to see a title change here. I think we're going to see Kenny Omega and Hangman Page retain, although I do think we're going to see the split soon. I don't think they'll be tag team champions much longer. I just don't think we're going to see the switch in this match. Now, of course, we also have Chris Jericho on commentary for night 1 of Fyter Fest, so perhaps being that, of course, Best Friends have their affiliation and their partnership with Orange Cassidy, Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle could indeed get involved in this one and cost the Best Friends the match. That would set up the Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho match next week very nicely. So I think there's a lot of ways around that, but basically prediction here is I think we're going to have retain the tag team championships. I think Kenny Omega and Hangman Page are going to retain the titles here, but it'll be a good match. It'll be a fun match. I don't think it's going to be up to the level of the Omega and Page versus Bucks match at Revolution or some other matches that they've had, but I think it'll be a fun match. I think it will go long. Obviously, they're having lots of title matches on Fyter Fest. It's essentially a pay-per-view on free TV, so it's going to be a good one. As I mentioned in the NXT Great American Bash preview video earlier today, I'm very torn. It's a great night for professional wrestling. We've got 2 fantastic shows on, with, of course, Fyter Fest on TNT, AEW Fyter Fest, and we've got NXT's Great American Bash on the USA Network. It's going to be a very tough watch. It's going to be fascinating to see how both cards play out, and it's going to be fascinating to see the ratings on Thursday when they come in. But I'm just very excited. I'm very excited because it's good wrestling. We've got a great night of wrestling in the middle of the week. Hump Day, forget about Hump Day. We've got Wrestling Day, the Wednesday night Night Wars, one of maybe the most exciting night of the Wednesday Night Wars since the debut of AEW Dynamite and NXT, the first night of the Wednesday Night Wars. So very exciting here. I'm looking forward to it. But which show will you be watching? Let me know in the comment section below. Are you going to be watching NXT's Great American Bash or AEW's Fyter Fest? Who do you think is going to win out of the AEW World Tag Team Championship match? Do you think it's going to be Best Friends, or do you think it's going to be Hangman Page and Kenny Omega? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to WrestleNews 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at 365Wrestle on Twitter. We'll be doing live coverage of both shows as best as I can, probably a bit more in-depth on whichever one I decide to watch. I still haven't made my mind up yet, so we'll have to wait and see. Go and follow us on Twitter and you'll find out which one I'm going to cover. You can also follow us at WrestleNews 365 on Facebook and Instagram too, and be sure to go to WrestleNews365.com for all the very latest news, updates, opinions, and all of that fun stuff. Be sure to go to WrestleNews 365 to see all of that. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, and however you come across this video today. Enjoy Fyter Fest or NXT Great American Bash tonight, and I'll speak with you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.